G'day everyone and welcome to Sydney, where I've just finished my last gig of my insanely busy summer season. Today I decided to do something different and treat myself for my flight home, opting to spend a little extra than my usual travel allowance and try out Rex's 737 business class and see how it stacks up against Qantas and Virgin's offerings. Rex operate out of Terminal 2 at Sydney's domestic airport, sandwiched between Virgin and Jetstar, right next to the security line. With separate check-in areas for business and economy, and no queues in either, it was only minutes until I was checked in by the bright and cheery agent and on my way towards security. The check-in agent let me know that there was a lounge available, turning right as you exit down the stairs and walking down past McDonald's. The lounge is tucked away behind the service desk, where you have to get a staff member to buzz you in. Walking in, I was very surprised at how quiet it was. It wasn't massive by any means, but there were a few separate seating zones, taller tables for working and a small business centre. The food and beverage offerings were limited, with no hot food available, but rather a large selection of self-serve drinks from the fridge, as well as sandwiches and cups of 2-minute noodles. Behind that area are the bathrooms, which are lacking in cleanliness and quality, giving off real petrol station vibes. But since I did have some time to kill, I grabbed a snack and a couple of drinks and found myself a nice view of the airport operations. A nice touch is that there was a lounge attendant on hand, clearing up empty bottles and rubbish, who actually came around and offered to make a tea or coffee, which does reinforce their small town type business model. I did still have a little bit of work to do, so I whipped out my laptop, only to realise that there wasn't any Wi-Fi available, which is pretty disappointing for a lounge. The Sydney Airport Wi-Fi does work in there though, but be careful not to use these types of things without VPN protection. Soon enough, boarding time rolled around, and before it was called over the PA, I headed off to our gate. To my surprise, the gate was absolutely packed, in a really good sign that people are voting with their feet not to fly with low quality airlines like Jetstar and choosing to support this great little airline. And according to their recent airline statistics, it's for a good reason. Shortly after 7:30, boarding was called, and since their frequent flyer program has only just launched, the priority line was reserved just for business class passengers. I walked straight to the front of the line and was one of the first to board. After being greeted on board, I found my seat 2A on this ex-Virgin Australia Boeing 737. If you're familiar with Virgin's 737 business class, this is very much the same seat. A reasonable width, a large amount of legroom, padded headrest, and a single button for recline. A very no-frills option compared to Qantas's leg rest seats, but still more than comfortable for this 1-hour flight. As the cabin filled up, I was offered a pre-departure drink of orange juice or sparkling water, served in a plastic cup, which was a sign of things to come. The business cabin ended up completely full, which is fantastic for this relatively young airline, at least in this scale of aircraft. This did make me wonder if they advertised to people that there actually is a lounge to use, since I was the only person on my flight that was in there. Or maybe they just left to get some actual hot food. The cabin crew then came around to take meal orders, a choice of a chicken sandwich or lamb and potatoes with a choice of beer or wines. Following this was a single-use Wi-Fi voucher to use once we were away. And right after we completed boarding, we heard the dreaded pushback delay.
Sydney down to Melbourne, they're spacing the aeroplanes 2 minutes apart.
There were some pretty brutal storms in Melbourne that day, which meant that we had to join the queue of aircraft waiting to get there, and we're expecting about a 40-minute delay. I tried my luck to get a glass of red while I waited, but I was informed that due to their liquor licensing, they can only serve alcohol once airborne. Another round of pre-departure drinks to business passengers would have made the delay feel a little nicer regardless. Thankfully, only about 30 minutes later, we pushed back and took off towards the north, over the city and harbour, and then towards Melbourne. The included Wi-Fi was easy to set up and actually quite decent, with speeds at around 60 megabytes a second. Shortly after, the meal was served. I went with the lamb and potatoes with a glass of Shiraz, which was served on this single tray with a side of warm bread, a chocolate and raspberry cake dessert, and a small chocolate. The meal itself was actually quite tasty, but I couldn't stop thinking about how the sweaty cardboard box reminded me of the kind of meal you get in economy on Qantas. The chocolate cake was delicious, and it did a great job of elevating it above the economy feeling. All in all, what did I think? Well, considering it's the same plane as Virgin and Qantas, and the same seat as Virgin, its hard product is right up there with the both of them. The service was great, polite and efficient, and up for a chat, which was a nice change from Qantas. The meal is definitely at the bottom of the three and the only real downside. The food itself was reasonable, but the serving on trays in cardboard boxes is what Qantas does in economy. Would it really kill them just to put it on a plate? The tray, packaging, and even the cutlery is all wood and cardboard, advertised as recyclable, but I'd say it's just to cut down on costs through having to do dishes. The plastic cups are a big thumbs down though. It's 2024. With the super fast check-in, near empty lounge, strict policing of the priority boarding lane, the ground experience is probably better than the big two airlines. Would I fly it again? Absolutely. I'd still choose one of the other two for now, especially until they get their frequent flyer system up and running properly. But if I were flying people for business and it's a fraction of the price of the other two, why not? I paid cash for this flight at a pretty high $349, which is on par with the other two competitors, and I think it's almost justified. Definitely a reasonable choice if you're looking to pay that kind of money anyway, and they have seats and times that line up for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments, would you like to try Rex's new business class? Until next time, see you at the pointy end.